Before we begin, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more bedtime stories. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is. And if there's a story you'd like to hear next, I'd love to know that too. I used to work part-time at a fried chicken place in downtown Columbus, Ohio. It wasn't technically a KFC, but it was close enough. Red and white uniforms, greasy counters, and that faint smell of old oil that never really left your clothes. The sign outside said "Cluckin' Good Chicken," but everyone in town just called it fake KFC. I was a broke college student back then, scraping through my last semester with a mountain of student debt and barely enough cash to afford rent. The job didn't pay much, but closing shifts had one perk. Whatever fried chicken didn't sell by the end of the night was ours to take home. Free food is free food, right? The first few weeks were easy. I worked with a few other college kids. Lena, who handled the register, Bryce, our lazy fry cook, and Mr. Owens, the manager. He was an older guy, short-tempered but harmless. The kind who yelled about wasted napkins but let us sneak leftover biscuits when he wasn't looking. At first, I didn't think much about the food. We prepped it the same way every night. Chicken pieces dipped in a flour mix that came in sealed white bags marked "Proprietary Blend, Confidential." Owens used to joke, "That's the secret recipe, kid. Don't breathe too hard or corporate will charge you for sniffing it." But one night something changed. It was a slow Tuesday. Around 10:30 p.m., just before closing, a new shipment came in. Boxes of spice mix that looked different, plain black labels and a faint chemical smell when Bryce tore one open. "Yo," I said, wrinkling my nose. "That smell normal to you?" He shrugged. "Probably just new packaging or something. Corporate's always changing suppliers. Let's get this done so we can bounce." We used the new mix without thinking twice. The chicken came out darker than usual, crispier, almost shiny, like it was sweating grease even after cooling. Owens took one look and smiled like he'd struck gold. "Looks perfect," he said. "Corporate's been trying some new flavor enhancers. If it tastes half as good as it looks, we're going to sell out tomorrow." He wasn't wrong. The next day, the place was packed from open to close. People were ordering family buckets, double meals, extra large portions, more than I'd ever seen. Even regulars who usually complained about the food were smiling, licking their fingers, asking for seconds. By closing time, every tray was empty. "Damn," Lena said, locking the doors. "We actually sold out." "You ever seen that happen?" "Never," I replied. "Guess that new spice mix works." We laughed, clocked out, and as I was leaving, Owens handed me a paper bag. "Here, kid." Took a few pieces from the first batch. Quality control, you know. I took it home. Still warm. But when I bit into one, I froze. It tasted off. Not bad exactly, but different. Sweet at first, almost floral, then bitter, leaving a weird numbness on my tongue. I tossed the rest into the trash and brushed my teeth twice before bed. The next morning, my tongue still tingled. By the end of the week, people in town were talking about Cluckin' Good Chicken like it was the best food ever made. College kids were skipping class to grab lunch there. The local news even ran a piece about the revival of the small-town chicken joint. But the customers started looking strange. Some came in every single day. Same people, same orders, faces pale and sweaty like they hadn't slept in days. One woman named Marcy, who used to come in with her kids once a week, showed up alone 3 nights in a row, eyes glassy, hair greasy. "Can I get the big bucket?" she mumbled. "You sure?" "That's 20 pieces," I said, half joking. She smiled, lips cracked. "Yeah, I'll finish it," and she did. Every last piece. I saw her outside in the parking lot after closing, scraping crumbs from the bottom of the bucket with her fingers. A few of us started talking during slow shifts. "You think Owens put something in the chicken?" Lena asked. "Like MSG or something addictive?" Bryce laughed. "Addictive chicken, please. It's grease and salt. People are just fat, that's all." But I couldn't shake the unease, especially after what happened next. About a week later, I came in for my shift and the smell hit me before I even clocked in. It wasn't just fried food anymore. It was heavier, almost sweet, like perfume gone rancid. Owens was in the back staring into a pot of fryer oil, mumbling under his breath. "You good, boss?" I asked. He turned to me with a smile too wide for his face. "Better than good. Sales are up 200%. Head office is going to love me for this." That night, even the fries tasted off, coated in that same weird spice. It left a film on my tongue that water couldn't wash away. The next few days were chaos. We ran out of chicken by 8 p.m. every night. Customers were banging on the windows, yelling to be let in after closing. Some even camped outside before opening hours. One guy named Terry, a local cab driver, had come in every day for a week. The night we ran out, he slammed his fist on the counter. "What do you mean you're out?" he shouted. "I need it." "You don't understand." "I need it." Owens rushed in and calmed him down, promising free buckets tomorrow. But when I looked at Terry's hands, they were shaking, fingernails crusted with dried grease. That night, Owens stayed late mixing something in the back. I peeked through the office window. He had one of those black spice bags open and was pouring white powder from a smaller container into it. My stomach dropped. The next morning, I told Lena, "He's mixing something into the spice blend." She stared at me. "Like drugs?" "I don't know, but it's not normal." We decided to call the regional office the next day, but we never got the chance. That night was the last time I ever worked there. We were slammed as usual, people screaming for chicken, shoving each other in line. The air was thick with grease and sweat, hard to breathe. Around 9 p.m., Bryce came running from the back, his face white as flour. "Dude," he whispered, "Owens is eating it raw." "What?" "He's in the kitchen grabbing pieces straight from the fryer basket. He's burning his mouth but just keeps chewing." Before I could react, someone screamed from the lobby. Marcy, that same woman, was on the floor clawing at another customer's bucket. Her mouth was bleeding, teeth broken, but she didn't stop. Within seconds, chaos erupted. People biting, scratching, fighting over the food like wild animals. Lena and I barricaded ourselves in the supply closet, dialing 911 with trembling hands. The screams outside were guttural, primal. Fryer oil splattered against the door as something slammed into it. When the police finally arrived, the store was a war zone. Broken chairs, blood-smeared counters, and customers still gnawing on cold chicken from the floor. Owens was gone. The cops took us in for questioning. When they tested the chicken and spice mix, they found traces of a synthetic stimulant, something similar to meth but altered, unregistered. Whatever Owens had mixed in had turned ordinary people into addicts in a matter of days. They never caught him. His apartment was empty, car missing, bank account drained. Cluckin' Good Chicken closed permanently after that. They bulldozed the building 6 months later. Sometimes when I drive past the empty lot, I swear I can still smell that faint, sweet bitterness in the air, like burnt sugar and oil. I can't eat fried chicken anymore. The smell makes me nauseous. But every once in a while, when I pass a KFC or Popeyes, I see people inside eating like they haven't eaten in days, eyes glazed, hands trembling. And I wonder if Owens really disappeared, or if someone else bought his secret recipe. I was 9 years old when my parents started managing the KFC on the corner of Hillcrest Avenue and Maple Drive, right off the highway in a small Midwestern town called Baxter. It wasn't much, just a squat red and white building with flickering fluorescent lights, but to us it was home. The owner, Mr. Lang, let us stay in the tiny 2-bedroom apartment upstairs. It smelled like fryer grease, detergent, and the faint sweetness of coleslaw. My parents didn't mind. They said it saved money. Dad ran the kitchen most nights. Mom handled the front counter. I'd do my homework at the little table by the window while the smell of chicken drifted through the vents. Back then, I thought that smell meant stability. It meant my parents were working hard, keeping things together. I even used to brag to my friends that I lived above a KFC. They'd laugh, but I didn't care. It was home. Every night after closing, I'd hear the clanging of metal pans and the hiss of oil as Dad cleaned up. Sometimes I'd peek through the stairwell that connected the apartment to the restaurant below. The light from the kitchen would spill up the steps, golden and flickering, and I'd see him moving back and forth, checking fryers, mopping floors, whistling old country songs. I used to beg to help him. "Come on, Dad, I can wipe tables or something." He'd smile, that weary kind of smile adults give when they want to say no without sounding mean. "Not tonight, kiddo. It gets too hot back there. I don't want you anywhere near that fryer." So I'd sulk upstairs and listen to him hum while I tried to fall asleep. It was the middle of summer when the first weird thing happened. Mom shook me awake around 3 a.m. The fire alarm downstairs was blaring, the smoke detector shrieking through the ceiling. Dad wasn't in bed. We ran down the stairs, her in slippers, me clutching the rail, and found the kitchen hazy with smoke. The fryer oil was bubbling unattended, popping angrily. Dad stood beside it, frozen, just staring into the fryer like he was watching a movie. "Jack," Mom yelled, grabbing his shoulder. "What the hell are you doing?" He blinked like he'd just come out of a trance. I don't know," he mumbled. "I thought I heard someone call my name." Mom turned off the machine, cursing under her breath. "You scared the life out of me. Go upstairs now." He obeyed without argument. We didn't talk about it again. But after that night, Dad started acting different. Tired, distracted. He'd go down after closing hours and stay up half the night. Sometimes I'd wake up at 2 or 3 a.m. and hear the fryer again, the hum of the oil like a heartbeat beneath the floorboards. About a week later, I was watching TV upstairs when the kitchen lights downstairs flickered. It was close to midnight. I crept halfway down the stairs and peeked through the cracked door. The dining area was dark, but the back kitchen glowed in that dull yellow light. Someone was moving back there. It wasn't Dad. The man I saw was tall and thin. His KFC uniform hung off him like wet paper. His skin looked almost gray in the fluorescent light, and his hair, stringy, white, slicked back, clung to his temples like he'd just stepped out of the fryer himself. He was humming something low and tuneless, stirring a basket in the fryer with one long metal tong. "Dad?" I whispered, my voice trembling. The man froze. His humming stopped instantly. He didn't turn. He just tilted his head to the side slowly, like a doll's head creaking on a hinge. Then, still facing the fryer, he said, "You're not supposed to be here, kid." The voice was soft, but wrong. Too calm, too flat, like someone trying to remember how a human should sound. My knees went weak. "Where's my dad?" I stammered. The man turned then, and I swear to God I'll never forget his face. His smile stretched too far, oily and glistening. His eyes were small, black and deep like the bottom of a burnt pan. He pointed one finger toward the fryer. "He's right here." The smell hit me. Grease, yes, but underneath it, something metallic and foul like burnt hair. I screamed. I ran upstairs so fast I nearly tripped on the top step. I slammed the apartment door and screamed for Mom. She came out half asleep, grabbed me, and shook my shoulders. "What is it?" "What's wrong?" I was crying too hard to speak. I just kept saying, "There's someone down there. There's someone down there." She didn't hesitate. She grabbed the baseball bat Dad kept by the bed and ran downstairs. I hid under the blanket, shaking, listening. I heard her shouting his name, then silence, then the creak of the stairs as she came back up. Her face was pale, her lips pressed tight. "There's no one there," she said softly. "Just the fryer on again." The next morning, Dad was gone. His shoes were still by the door. His keys and phone were on the counter. The back door was unlocked. The police came, asked questions, searched the freezer, the alley, the dumpsters. They found nothing. One of the officers said he'd probably walked off, maybe stressed from overwork. Mom didn't believe that. Neither did I. She quit the job that week. Mr. Lang didn't even fight her on it. He just looked uncomfortable and said something about strange accidents in older buildings. We packed our things and moved 2 towns over to stay with my aunt. Mom never mentioned Dad again. Not once. She didn't even let me say his name at dinner. Years passed. I grew up. I convinced myself I'd been half asleep that night, that maybe it was a dream. My therapist said I was probably processing the trauma of my father's disappearance. I believed that. Until last year. I was driving through Baxter on my way to a work conference. The KFC was still there, newly remodeled, shiny red panels, drive-through signs lit up bright. For a second, I thought about pulling over just to see. Something made me do it. I parked, walked in, ordered a sandwich. The kid at the counter couldn't have been older than 18. He smiled and handed me my bag. "You eating in or taking out?" "In," I said, scanning the place. It looked normal. Clean tables, soda fountain humming. But as I sat down, I noticed something. The air smelled familiar. Not the usual fried chicken smell. Heavier, burnt like overcooked oil. I forced myself to take a bite. The food tasted fine, but I couldn't shake the nausea crawling up my throat. Then I saw it. Through the small kitchen window where the fryers were, a man was standing. Tall. Thin. Red uniform. White hair slicked back. My breath stopped. He turned just enough for me to see the side of his face and that same stretched, greasy smile. He was looking straight at me. I froze. My tray rattled as I stood up. The kid at the counter asked, "Hey sir, you okay?" I looked back at him, then at the window again. The man was gone. I didn't even grab my food. I just left. That night I couldn't sleep. My phone buzzed with a local news alert. I clicked it without thinking. Baxter KFC temporarily closed after employee found dead in fryer accident. The article said the worker was cleaning the fryer after closing and somehow fell in. They found him hours later, the store reeking of burnt grease. The name listed, Jacob Lang, Mr. Lang's son. My hands went cold. I remembered the smell. The humming. The man's voice saying, "You're not supposed to be here." I tried to convince myself it was coincidence and that maybe I'd imagined it. Maybe I was projecting old memories, but when I went to bed, the smell came back, the thick, oily heat filling my nostrils. I woke up choking. Sure, I'd hear that fryer again through the floorboards. A week later, curiosity got the better of me. I drove back to Baxter. The KFC was boarded up and a crooked, closed for maintenance sign taped to the glass, but someone had scrawled something across the boards in dark grease stains. The words were smudged, but still legible under the streetlight. "You're not supposed to be here." That was enough for me. I turned and ran to my car. It's been 3 months. I can't eat chicken anymore, not even at home. Every time I smell oil heating up, my stomach twists. I've started hearing things at night, too. Soft humming through the vents like a voice coming up from the floor. Sometimes, I wake up certain someone's standing in my kitchen. I'll go check. And everything looks normal, but the air smells faintly of burnt hair. Mom passed away last winter. Before she died, she said something that keeps echoing in my head. Her voice was weak, but I heard every word. She said, "If you ever go back there, don't look in the fryer." I didn't understand then. I do now. Because every time I close my eyes, I see that kitchen light flickering, the fryer bubbling, and that pale man smiling at me. And when I dream, I hear him again, closer this time, whispering in my ear, "You're not supposed to be here, kid." When I was 22, I worked the night shift at a KFC in rural Alabama, about 2 miles outside a dead-end town called Mapleton. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid better than minimum wage. And after my last job at a gas station got robbed, frying chicken sounded downright peaceful. My crew was small. Nate, the manager, a no-nonsense guy in his 30s with a lazy eye and a cigarette habit. Carl, a quiet older man who did dishes and kept to himself. And me, the new guy who didn't know grease burns could hurt worse than heartbreak. The store closed at midnight, but on Fridays we stayed open until 2 for the late-night crowd. Drunk college kids, truckers, and the occasional sketchy traveler. That's when the weird stuff started happening. The first sign was the shipment. Usually we got our deliveries every Tuesday morning. Standard frozen chicken, flour, seasoning packets, nothing special. But that week it came early. A big unmarked truck rolled in at 1:47 a.m. Just as we were closing, Nate frowned. "Corporate never ships this late," he muttered. Checking the clipboard, the driver stepped out. A tall guy in a spotless KFC jacket, face half hidden under his hat. He handed Nate a paper to sign, but the form was blank except for a single line at the bottom. "Special blend, handle with care." Nate raised an eyebrow. "What the hell is this?" "We didn't order any special blend." The driver didn't answer. He just said, "Storage freezer." "Keep it cold. Don't open till morning." Then he left. No paperwork, no explanation. The 3 of us just stood there watching the taillights disappear into the dark. The box itself was odd. Heavy, metal-sided, sealed with industrial tape. "No KFC logo. Just a small embossed chicken silhouette on one corner." Nate muttered, "Probably some new sauce promotion or something," and shoved it into the walk-in freezer. But even from the doorway, I caught a whiff of it. A strange coppery smell under the frost. Not rotten exactly, more like blood. Carl wrinkled his nose. "Smells wrong," he said softly, "like something's still alive in there." We laughed it off, but that smell lingered. When we came in the next day, Nate was already there. The freezer door was open, condensation fogging up the glass. The box was gone. "Corporate must have picked it up," he said quickly. But his voice sounded strained, and his uniform smelled faintly metallic, like he'd been standing too close to that box all night. Then he announced we were trying a new recipe that evening. something experimental. He mixed the breading himself, locking the door to the prep room while he worked. I could hear him muttering to himself through the door. Something about getting the ratios right, tasting closer now. When he came out, his hands were shaking. "Don't touch the spice mix," he told us. "Just fry what I give you." The chicken looked fine when it came out of the fryer. Golden brown, crispy, perfect. But the smell was off. Not the usual savory scent, it was sweet, almost nauseatingly so. A few customers complimented it. One guy even said, "Damn, this tastes like nothing I've ever had before." "What's in it?" Nate smiled, eyes twitching. "Just the Colonel's secret recipe," he said. That night, a woman came in around midnight, pale, trembling, like she hadn't slept in days. She stared at the menu for a long time before whispering, "You shouldn't be serving that." Nate looked annoyed. "Ma'am?" She leaned closer to the counter. "They buried that blend in '84. It's not meant for people. You need to burn it before it starts calling them again." Then she turned and walked out without ordering. Carl crossed himself quietly. Nate just stood there. "Jaw tight, crazy old hag," he muttered. But later that night, I caught him in the back alley behind the dumpster, talking to himself or maybe to someone else. 2 days later, things got worse. Carl didn't show up for his shift. When Nate and I checked the back, we found the freezer door wide open. Inside, there was a trail of footprints, bare, wet, leading into the dark corner behind the racks. The air smelled rotten. Something was dripping from one of the top shelves, thick, reddish-brown. Nate shut the door fast and said, "Don't tell anyone." The next morning, corporate called. Not about Carl, not about the smell. They just asked one thing. "Did you receive the special shipment?" Nate hesitated before answering. "Yeah, we used it." The voice on the other end paused, then said, "Good. Keep serving until it's gone. You'll know when to stop. Then The next few nights blurred together. Customers started coming in more and more, and even from out of town. They said the food tasted like home. Some of them cried while eating. Others just stared blankly at their trays, and the more we cooked, the stronger the smell got. Sweet, metallic, like something between honey and decay. One night, I came in early and found Nate crouched behind the counter, scooping raw meat into his mouth straight from the fryer basket. His lips were blistered, bleeding, but he kept chewing. When he looked up, his eyes were red and glassy. "They love it," he whispered. "They can't stop coming." "Neither can I." He started laughing, low and broken. I ran. When I came back the next morning, the KFC was surrounded by police tape. The report said Nate fell into the fryer around 3 a.m. They said the oil overflowed, caught fire, and burned half the kitchen before the alarms kicked in. They found bones in the oil, too many for one person. The restaurant shut down for 6 months. When it reopened, it had a new manager, a fresh coat of paint, and a brand new sign that said "Now with the original recipe." But every once in a while, when you drive by on a hot night, you can still smell that sweetness in the air, heavy and clinging, like burnt sugar and rust. Locals say if you stop your car and listen close enough, you can still hear the fryer bubbling. And if you peek through the back window, sometimes you'll see Nate standing there, skin blistered, eyes red, still stirring the mix, still serving the secret recipe. I figured it was just my imagination. After all, I'd been breathing fryer fumes for 6 hours straight. By the time my shift ended that night, I smelled like burnt oil and salt. My hair was stiff with grease, my hands sticky no matter how many times I washed them. When I got home around midnight, I opened the box of leftover chicken I'd saved from my meal break. The skin had gone soggy, but the smell was still mouth-watering. That same irresistible blend of spice, oil, and heat that clung to everything. I bit into a thigh piece and froze. It tasted wrong, weirdly floral like detergent mixed with honey. My tongue tingled, then went slightly numb. I spat it out into the trash, wiped my mouth, and stared at the rest of the chicken for a few seconds before muttering, "Guess I'm done with chicken for the night." I should have thrown the whole box out. Instead, I just pushed it deeper into the bin and went to bed, the taste still burning at the back of my tongue. The next morning at work, Jenny brought it up first. She was refilling the fryer oil when she said, "Hey Nate, did last night's batch taste funny to you?" I froze mid-step. "Yeah," I said slowly. "Thought it was just me." She frowned, her face shiny with sweat from the heat. Carl said it was from a new supplier, but it's got this buzz to it. Like caffeine, but different. I laughed it off, but her words stuck. By the end of the week, the whole town was hooked. Our little off-brand fried chicken joint had never been busy, until that new spice mix arrived. Within days, people were lining up around the block. Regulars who used to visit once or twice a week were coming in every single day, sometimes twice. They didn't just eat. They devoured. I'd watch them at the tables, faces pale and sweaty, eyes glassy and unfocused. Some would tremble as they waited for their orders, fingers twitching, muttering under their breath, like addicts waiting for a fix. We started running out of chicken before closing, which had never happened before. Looks like business is finally picking up, Carl, our manager, said one night, grinning as he counted the cash drawer. Guess people can't get enough, I replied, but inside, I wasn't smiling. There was one customer I'll never forget, a short, balding man who always wore a flannel shirt. He came in 5 nights in a row, ordered a family bucket each time, and ate it alone in his car. On the 6th night, when I told him we were out of chicken, he slammed his fist on the counter so hard that the trays behind me rattled. You're lying, he growled. You've got more in the back. I know you do. Sir, we're really out, I stammered. His eyes were bloodshot and twitching. You can't do this to me, man. I need it. Carl had to come out and threaten to call the cops before the guy finally stormed off. I thought that was the end of it. But that same night, I saw his car parked across the street, headlights off, just watching. Jenny and I started talking more after that. She was scared too. There's something seriously wrong, she whispered one night. The spice mix. It's not normal. What do you mean? I looked up the supplier label online. The company doesn't even exist. What? I tried calling corporate, she said. The line's been down for days. Before I could respond, Carl appeared in the doorway. His voice was sharp, almost mechanical. What are you two whispering about? Nothing, Jenny said quickly. He gave her a hard, empty stare. Good, because I don't pay you to gossip. After he left, Jenny leaned close again. Her voice trembled. Something's up with him too. Have you noticed? He's been eating the chicken nonstop. She was right. I'd seen him sneaking bites straight out of the fryer, grease dripping down his chin. Sometimes he'd stand there for minutes at a time, just chewing, staring into nothing. By Friday night, almost everyone who'd eaten the chicken, staff and customers alike, started showing symptoms. Pale faces, shaking hands, empty eyes. One of the cooks burned himself on the fryer and didn't even flinch. Just kept dropping chicken into the oil, smiling faintly as his skin blistered. Jenny and I made a pact. No more leftovers. But Carl didn't stop. Saturday night was hell. The place was packed wall to wall. The air was thick, sweat, oil, and something else. Something sweet that made my head feel light. People were shouting for their orders, pounding their fists on tables. The fryers couldn't keep up. We'd already run out of chicken twice. Carl was getting desperate. He stormed into the freezer. We still got some old stock in here, he said, rummaging through boxes. Ain't fresh, but they won't care. Jenny grabbed his arm. Carl, stop. Look at them out there. They're not even acting human. Sales are through the roof, Jen. He snapped. Corporate's going to notice this store. Then I heard it. The first scream. A man at the counter had jumped over the sneeze guard and was tearing into another customer's bucket, grabbing pieces with his bare hands. Another woman bit into someone's arm trying to steal a drumstick that had fallen to the floor. Tables crashed. Buckets flew. The smell of blood mixed with burning oil. Call 911. Jenny screamed. I ran to the office. The phone was dead. The line had been cut. I pulled out my cell, but before I could dial, Carl snatched it from my hands. No cops, he hissed. His pupils were huge, his face slick with grease. They'll shut us down. They're killing each other, Carl, I shouted. He smiled, a slow, oily grin that didn't reach his eyes. They just really love the chicken, Nate. Jenny screamed again. Carl lunged at her, grabbing her wrist. She swung a fryer basket at his face. The metal rang against his jaw, leaving a deep gash. Blood dripped down his chin as he rasped. You shouldn't have done that. I grabbed Jenny and we ran through the back exit. Behind us, I heard the door slam open, the mob pouring in. The sound of metal crashing. People screaming, flesh tearing. We hid behind the dumpsters, gasping for air. My heart was hammering so hard I thought it'd break my ribs. When the sirens finally came, it was already too late. The police stormed in with flashlights and tasers. I saw them drag people out. trembling, pale, still clutching half-eaten chicken pieces. Their faces, they looked empty, like whatever made them human had burned out. Carl wasn't among them. The next morning, the news said the restaurant had been shut down for investigation. The spice mix tested positive for traces of a synthetic stimulant, one that had been banned for years, because of its addictive and psychotic side effects. The authorities said someone must have tampered with the supply to boost sales, but they never found out who. Jenny left town the next week. I tried calling her, but her phone was disconnected. As for Carl, he vanished. His apartment was empty. His car gone, no note, no trace. That was 3 years ago. I still dream about that night. The screaming, the smell of burnt oil, Carl's grin through the fryer smoke. Every time I pass a KFC, my stomach twists. The smell alone makes me sick, but deep down, when that scent hits the air just right, I swear I can taste it again. That sweet floral tang that made my tongue go numb. And every time I wonder, what if Carl didn't run? What if he's still out there, not perfecting the recipe? I used to work the closing shift at a fried chicken place just off Broad Street in Columbus. We weren't a chain, but we looked like one. Same red and white color scheme, same fake smile, same endless smell of salt and oil that sticks to your soul. It wasn't bad work, just lonely. From 10 p.m. to 4 a.m., it was usually just me, the fryer, and the hum of the walk-in freezer. Sometimes, if we were lucky, we'd get 1 or 2 late-night drunks wandering in for a 12-piece bucket. But most nights were quiet. Too quiet. My manager, Frank, used to joke that the freezer was haunted. Said if you stood inside too long, you'd hear whispering under the fans. Probably just the compressor, I told him the first time he mentioned it. He grinned, showing the space where his front tooth used to be. Sure, Keller. Compressor. You just keep telling yourself that. I laughed it off, until the night I heard it myself. It was around 2:30 a.m. I was cleaning the prep station when I realized we were low on chicken. So I grabbed my gloves, pulled open the heavy freezer door, and stepped inside. The cold hit me like a slap. I hated that room. The light flickered constantly, and the hum of the fans was so loud it made your teeth vibrate. I was halfway to the back when I heard something move behind one of the boxes. A soft scrape like cardboard sliding on the floor. "Frank?" I called out, though I knew he wasn't there. He'd left hours ago. Nothing, just the hum. Then, a whisper. So faint I almost missed it. "Ryan?" I froze. The sound was close. Too close. I turned slowly. My breath fogged the air in front of me. For a split second, I thought I saw a shadow shift between the shelves. I blinked. It was gone. I grabbed the nearest box of frozen drumsticks and bolted. When I slammed the freezer door shut, I swore I felt it resist for just a moment. Like something inside didn't want me to leave. I didn't tell anyone. I knew how it'd sound. Everyone who works nights eventually starts hearing things. Compressors, pipes, your own heartbeat. It messes with your sense of time and space. But that whisper stayed with me. Every night after that, I kept hearing little sounds. Faint thumps, dragging noises, muffled knocks, always coming from inside the freezer. One night I got brave, or stupid. I decided to record it. I set my phone on a crate inside the freezer, left it running for 10 minutes while I mopped the floors, then went back to grab it. When I played the recording later, all I heard at first was the hum of the fans. Then, faintly underneath, came a wet scraping noise like meat sliding across metal. Then a voice. Hoarse. Whispering. Hungry, and I dropped the phone. The sound stopped the moment it hit the floor. When I told Frank about it the next morning, he just laughed. "Probably the pipes," he said. "They echo weird in there." But he didn't meet my eyes. A week later, everything went to hell. We had a massive order. Some college frat throwing a party. I was working alone, prepping boxes in the freezer when I heard it again. Not a whisper this time. A voice louder, closer. "Ryan," I spun around. The shelves behind me shook. A stack of boxes toppled over. Frozen wings scattered across the floor. I backed up fast, my breath coming out in clouds, then the lights flickered and I saw it. A shape. Crouched between the shelves. Pale. Wrong. Its skin looked stretched too thin, like the cold had preserved it just enough to hold together. Its mouth hung open, but it didn't breathe. It just watched me. When the light flickered again, it was gone. I dropped everything and sprinted out. I slammed the freezer door shut and jammed the latch down, my heart hammering so hard I thought I might pass out. I ran outside for air. The night was quiet. The parking lot empty except for my car and a single delivery truck parked near the dumpster. Then I heard it, a thud from inside the freezer. Then another, louder. Then a scream, muffled, but unmistakable. I ran back inside. My brain screamed to call the cops, but my body moved on instinct. I grabbed the latch. It was hot. Too hot for a freezer door. Something inside was pounding to get out. The metal groaned. Bolts rattled. Then silence. When the police showed up, the freezer was empty, but the boxes were shredded. Deep claw marks tore through the insulation. And in the corner, half buried under a pile of frozen wings, they found a shoe. Frank's shoe. He'd come in early that night to check the stock. They never found the rest of him. The store shut down 2 days later. They said it was for renovations, but when I went back a week later, the building was still dark. The windows papered over. I quit fast food after that. Can't even stand the smell of frying oil anymore. But sometimes when I'm driving late at night, I'll pass by that stretch of Broad Street, the one where the sign still flickers faintly in the dark. And I swear, I can see frost spreading across the inside of the glass door. And if I roll down my window, I can almost hear it, the hum of the freezer fans, and underneath it, a voice. Ryan. I've done a lot of dumb things for money, but this one still keeps me up at night. In 2019, I was 30, broke, and 3 weeks behind on rent. I'd lost my warehouse job after a forklift accident that wasn't even my fault. The manager said insurance issues, but I knew they just wanted someone younger, cheaper. So when I saw the Craigslist post titled $250 per visit, mystery shopper needed, fast food chain evaluation, it felt like the universe throwing me a bone. I'd done secret shopper gigs before. You order food, fill out a report, sometimes take a few photos of the interior. But this listing had a few weird details that should have been red flags. The instructions said, visit between 1 a.m. and 2:00 a.m. Use side entrance if possible. Do not interact with employees beyond the order. Sit for at least 15 minutes before ordering to observe environment. And at the bottom, one final line. Do not interfere with ongoing evaluations. The company name was Harper Quality Review Services. I Googled it. Nothing. Normally that would have stopped me, but my gas tank was empty, my fridge was worse, and the email that followed promised instant payment via Cash App after the report. Easy money. Or so I thought. The location was on the west side of Cleveland, a rundown fried chicken joint called Cluckin' Good Chicken. The kind of place with a faded sign and half the bulbs burned out. I'd passed it before. I could have sworn it had closed down months ago, but at 1:10 a.m. that night, when I pulled into the empty parking lot, the neon open sign flickered weakly in the window. I sat there for a minute, engine idling, staring at the front door. Something about the stillness bothered me. The building sat wedged between a boarded-up pawn shop and an abandoned gas station. No traffic, no sound, just wind. Finally, I grabbed my phone, opened the checklist the company had sent, and got out. The air smelled weird, like wet rust and grease. The main entrance was locked, but the side door by the dumpster was slightly open. I hesitated, then pushed it in. The inside looked wrong. Everything was too clean. The counters gleamed like they'd just been scrubbed down, but the smell of disinfectant couldn't hide the rot underneath. No music, no chatter, just the faint buzz of fluorescent lights and the low hum of the fryers in the back. The instructions said to observe first, so I sat at one of the back tables and started jotting down notes. Floors, spotless. Tables, wiped. Employees, none visible. Atmosphere, cold. Empty. Around the 12-minute mark, I heard footsteps from behind the kitchen door. A man stepped out, tall, maybe mid-40s, wearing a faded apron and one of those old fast food caps. His skin was slick with sweat, eyes dull and lifeless like he hadn't slept in days. He blinked when he saw me, then smiled too wide. "Welcome to Cluckin' Good Chicken," he said, voice flat. "You ordering tonight?" Yeah, I stammered. "3-piece combo, please," he nodded slowly. "Got it," then turned and disappeared behind the door again. I glanced up at the wall clock. The hands were frozen at 1:13 a.m. 10 minutes passed, then 15, Just when I started to think he'd forgotten, he came back holding a brown paper bag. No receipt, no drink, nothing. Just the bag. "Here you go," he said. I reached for my wallet. "How much do I owe?" "It's covered." "What?" He smiled again, slower this time. "You're already paid." Before I could ask what that meant, he turned and disappeared into the kitchen again. I stared at the bag for a long minute. My chest felt tight. When I opened it, I found a chicken sandwich. The bun soggy and gray, the patty pale, wet, and cold to the touch. And underneath it, a folded piece of paper. Take one bite. Then wait. Now, anyone with common sense would have left right there. But I'd done enough secret shopper gigs to know that sometimes they included weird tests to see how observant you were. So I lifted the sandwich, took one hesitant bite, and then instantly gagged. The meat was ice cold. The texture all wrong, soft in some parts, crunchy in others, like biting into cartilage. Then, my teeth hit something hard. I spit everything out into a napkin and froze. Mixed in with the chewed meat was a human tooth, perfectly white, perfectly real. I pushed back from the table so fast the chair screeched across the floor. The hum from the kitchen stopped. Silence. Then, a wet, dragging noise. Something heavy moving across tile. I backed toward the door, but when I tried to push it open, it didn't budge. The latch was jammed from the outside. My pulse spiked. I grabbed my phone, hit record. "Hey, this is Ryan. I'm at the Clucking Good Chicken on West 44th. I think something's..." The kitchen door creaked open. The man stepped out again. Only this time, he wasn't alone. Behind him, half hidden in the shadows, something crawled along the floor. A shape that moved wrong, joints bending the wrong direction. Its skin was pale, translucent, stretched tight over bones that looked too long. He smiled again. "She's hungry," he said softly. "You shouldn't have taken a bite unless you were ready." The thing behind him let out a sound that wasn't human, a wet gurgle that vibrated in my chest. I threw my phone at him and ran for the window. The glass shattered under my shoulder. I hit the pavement hard, cutting my arms on the shards, and scrambled toward my car. Behind me, I heard the door slam open and something crawl out. I didn't look back. I drove to the nearest gas station and called 911. The operator said they'd send a car. When the officers showed up 15 minutes later, the building was dark. The lights were off. The door I'd come through was padlocked. Inside, nothing. No man. No tables, not even cooking equipment. Just a bare concrete floor. The officer looked at me like I was drunk. "Sir, this restaurant's been closed since 2018. Property condemned. Are you sure you were here?" I showed him the cut on my arm, the photo of the sandwich still open on my phone. He radioed it in, then came back shaking his head. "There's no record of any business license under that name." I tried to pull up the email from Harper Quality Review Services, but it was gone. Inbox, trash, everything. Like it had never existed. For days after, I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd missed something. That maybe there was an explanation, maybe squatters, or a prank, or some kind of viral marketing stunt. Then the dream started. I'd wake up at 1:13 a.m. every night to the sound of something wet dragging across my kitchen floor. One night I found grease stains leading from my front door to the fridge. Another night, I woke up to my phone vibrating on the nightstand. A message from a blank number. "You're there to observe, not interfere." I threw the phone across the room. A week later I went back. I don't know why. Maybe I needed proof that it really happened. The restaurant was gone. Literally gone. The lot had been flattened. A construction sign stood where the building used to be. But when I got closer, I saw something in the dirt. A single brown paper bag, grease-soaked, torn. Inside was a receipt, printed on it. Order 10113, mystery shopper meal, 0 more, server R. Keller. That night I couldn't sleep. The name R. Keller burned in my mind. I searched it online. Hours of scrolling through police reports, missing person cases, local news archives, and then I found it. Ryan Keller, 2018 employee at a fried chicken chain in Columbus, disappeared during night shift. The same story I'd heard years ago online. Police said he vanished without a trace. Only thing left was his shoe, found in a freezer. I checked the timestamp on my phone recording from that night, 13 a.m. It's been almost 6 years since that night. Sometimes, I still get anonymous emails. No text, no subject. Just attachments, photos of fried chicken and blurry, greasy, taken in what looks like the same restaurant. And in the reflection of the plastic tray, I can always see a face watching from behind the counter, a face that looks exactly like mine. They say every restaurant has its own secret recipe, a blend of spices, oils, and techniques passed down through generations. But what they don't tell you is that sometimes those recipes shouldn't exist at all. My name doesn't matter anymore. You can call me Logan. I used to work at a small KFC franchise on the edge of Riverview, a quiet Georgia town where nothing ever really happened. The kind of place with one traffic light, 2 gas stations, and a main street that smelled like old grease and rain. When I first got the job, I was 22. Broke, tired, and desperate. The paycheck wasn't much, but it was steady. I started off cleaning tables, then worked my way up to handling the fryers. Eventually, after a few years of loyalty and unpaid overtime, my manager Harlan started trusting me with night shifts. Harlan was an odd guy, mid-50s, silver hair slicked back, a soft-spoken voice that somehow made you listen. He'd been running that KFC since before I was born. Everyone respected him, even corporate. But behind his polite smile, there was something off. The way he talked about tradition, the way he said this store is special, like it was sacred ground. The night. Everything changed. It started one stormy Thursday night. The rain came down in sheets, drumming against the roof so hard it drowned out the sound of the fryers. The restaurant was empty except for me, Harlan, and Corbin, another cook who'd been there longer than I had. I was scrubbing the floor when Harlan called me into the kitchen office. "Logan," he said, "you've been here a long time. You ever think about moving up? Becoming a manager?" I laughed nervously. "Sure, someday. But I'm not exactly management material." He just smiled, a strange, tired smile. "You might be more ready than you think. But if you want the position, you'll have to understand what it really means." I thought he was talking about payroll or responsibility or customer service. But then he said something that made the hairs on my neck stand up. "There's something you need to see first." He led me into the kitchen. The air was thick with steam and the heavy, familiar scent of fried chicken. Corbin stood by the fryer, face expressionless. Harlan nodded toward him. "Go ahead, Corbin. Show him." Without saying a word, Corbin reached into the fryer with a pair of metal tongs and pulled out a golden brown piece of chicken. It was perfect, crispy, steaming, mouth-watering. He placed it on a paper tray and slid it toward me. "Try it," Harlan said softly. "You'll understand." I frowned. "What is this, some kind of taste test?" He didn't answer. His eyes were fixed on me, cold and unblinking. The smell of the chicken was unreal. Rich, sweet, savory, like something alive. My conscience screamed don't, but my hands, they moved on their own. I picked up the piece. It was hot, oily, dripping. I took a bite. And God help me, it was delicious. Not just good, transcendent, the kind of taste that makes your whole body go still. The crunch, the salt, the sweetness of the meat. I'd never tasted anything like it. Harlan smiled, slow and satisfied. "See? Now you know the secret." The way he said it made my stomach twist. I swallowed, but it burned all the way down. What's in it?" I asked. He turned to Corbin, who just gave me a look, half pity, half warning. "That's why customers always come back," Harlan said. "They can't help it. Once you've had it, nothing else compares." Then, just as I was about to press him, he leaned close and whispered, "Responsibility, Logan. Tradition. You said you were ready for management. This is part of it." I stared at him, heart pounding. "What the hell are you talking about?" He sighed like a disappointed teacher. "You'll see. For now, finish your shift. And don't open that freezer." I didn't sleep that night. The taste stayed in my mouth like a ghost. Sweet, metallic, wrong. I thought maybe I was imagining it. But when I came back the next morning, something was off. The walk-in freezer smelled like bleach and raw meat. And there was a single shoe by the mop sink. A child's shoe. When I asked Corbin about it, he just said quietly, "You'll get used to it." The promotion 2 days later, Harlan made it official. I was the new night manager. I should have felt proud. But all I felt was dread. The following week, a missing person flyer showed up on the window near the drive-thru. Local teen vanishes after leaving work at gas station. I froze when I saw his face. I'd seen him before. He'd come through the drive-thru a few times. always ordering a family bucket. He looked so familiar because he looked like the chicken I'd eaten that night. From that day on, I couldn't eat the food anymore, but the customers loved it more than ever. Lines wrapped around the building. The franchise won awards for best regional flavor. Corporate visited, smiling, shaking hands, calling us the gold standard of quality. And I stood there nodding, pretending everything was normal, while every new missing person poster made me feel like my stomach was filled with oil. The truth I couldn't unsee one night. Months later, I stayed after closing, determined to find out the truth. The freezer door creaked as I opened it. The smell hit me first, copper and salt, then I saw them, crates, dozens of them. Unmarked, stacked in the corner. I lifted one lid. Inside were vacuum-sealed bags of meat. Only it wasn't chicken, too big, too human. I staggered back, gagging. Harlan appeared behind me like a shadow. "I told you not to open that," he said softly. "What the hell is this?" I screamed. "What are you doing?" He sighed. "You wanted to be manager. Managers take care of tradition. You think KFC built this town?" "No, Logan, we did." I grabbed the nearest thing I could in a metal tray and swung it at him, but he didn't even flinch. "Don't fight it," he said. "It's already in you. You've eaten it. You're part of the recipe now." I don't remember much after that. Just running, tires screeching, the smell of fried flesh following me like a curse. The aftermath, I never went back. A week later, the store was remodeled and reopened under new management. Harlan was gone. Corbin too. Corporate claimed they'd transferred to another location. But I know better. For 5 years, I've carried that smell in my head. That impossible mix of herbs, oil, and something evil. Every night I see Toby's face, a delivery kid who never came back, staring at me from the reflection of the fryer. I hear that soft humming Harlan used to do while seasoning the meat. I wake up sweating, thinking I can still taste it. I'm not telling this story for sympathy or forgiveness, I just want peace. Because if someone hears this, maybe they'll think twice before biting into something that tastes too good to be true. And if you ever find yourself in Riverview, Georgia, and there's a KFC whose chicken seems a little too perfect, just remember, some recipes should never be passed down.